It's been a week since we talked about LCS roster rumors, and we've obviously got more of them. So let's recap the week's worth of rumors, my thoughts on them, and where's the state of the LCS right now. Before that, two quick reminders. First, if you're around New York City or in the New York metro area, we are having a watch party for World's Finals this upcoming Saturday, or well, technically Sunday morning at 3 a.m. at OSNYC. I've got an Eventbrite link down in the description below. If you plan on going, please sign up and register. It's free to come to, so no requirements of anything. Obviously, it's a little bit late, but it should be fun. And second is we are like 400 subscribers away from 2K, which is my goal for the end of the year. Hopefully we can get there, and if you aren't subscribed already, be sure to do so down below. Starting with FlyQuest, where we left off last week, they already had 4 of their set pieces with Bwipo, Inspired, Masu, and Busio. The question was just mid lane, and we still do not know that answer, but one of the rumored players that could have been going to them was Larson from Koi. He has historically been one of the better mid laners in the LEC, has played with Inspired in the past, and it would have been a really nice addition to the roster, but Larson decided to stick with the LEC and stick with now, I mean, we don't really know what the team's called, but like Infinite Reality, which was like Koi's old thing, but if you don't know, Ibai left Koi and got to take the brand name with him, and we don't know what Infinite Reality is becoming. It's a mess, but nevertheless, he's staying over in Europe, which means FlyQuest is still looking for a mid laner that would put them in contention with Cloud9 to win the LCS. They do have an import spot available. Whether they will choose to use that, we don't know, and there's no rumors ongoing of who they might get. It's just completely up in the air. Shifting over to more of the middle of the pack, because this is where roster mania during weeks 2, 3, and even going forward until we finally know all spots gets more interesting. It's more of a design philosophy of whether we believe in North American talent, whether we're going to continue to see importing at the lowest teams levels, and where things stand. In case you missed the bombshell news this offseason, TSM is gone and out of the LCS. They have sold their spot to the Shopify Rebellion. Now, I'm going to be meeting with one of their C-suite upcoming here soon to give you more information about their brand and just kind of probe around, see what their goals are, see what their kind of mission statement and drive would be within the league. Like what would distinguish them from a different team? But we do know the majority of their roster now, and they are going with young North American, well, don't know if young North American players, but North American players is the right word. Fate God will be in the top lane. Boogie is the imported jungler that will be retained this upcoming split. He was on the old TSM roster and performed quite well, especially towards the end of the year as he got more comfortable in North America. Insanity is going to be in the mid lane. That was announced last week. And then Zeyzal will notably be joining from Disguised Toast, a veteran leader. He was on the 2018 Cloud9 squad that did reach semifinals and is an amazing shot caller and was one of the most valuable assets that we had in Academy/Challenger last year. The question with Zeyzal was always, were him and Meech going to go together? They were a bot lane pair and duo that worked incredibly well for Disguised Toast, and most people assume that they'd be announced together. And we don't currently know the status of Meech at all. And Shopify is notably missing a bot laner. That's the one open role that they have. They did have Wild Turtle last year from TSM that would roll over to this year. I'm not sure whether his contract was until 2024, whether he's like a free agent now. But ADC probably has the most open superstars in the LCS right now. So they have a bunch to pick from, and this is a good core overall. I know people are going to see Fate God and Zeyzal and be like, man, we've seen these guys before. But again, if you gave NRG benefit of the doubt there when it came to Dokla and Palafox and contracts, you do have to give Shopify Rebellion the same exact treatment. These are guys that never really got chances on good squads, and now that they have a solid coach with Revan, I could see them potentially doing some damage here. I don't know if Shopify is going to try and get TSM fans to follow them, given that TSM fans tend to be locked in their ways, and I don't think you can necessarily force that conversion, as we've seen with NRG and CLG trying to appeal to those fans. I don't know if it necessarily works, because there is that level of grudge that will always be somewhat held over, and TSM fans have kind of been checked out for a while to a certain extent. But keeping the core of the team in Boogie and Insanity and Revan as their coach from the TSM final year does at least give a chance for that to happen. We'll see if it works out, but I actually am excited to see how this team develops as time goes on. Probably the biggest bombshell of the week that dropped was yesterday. It was announced that Ignar would be going over to excel in Europe, leaving the championship-winning NRG roster behind. Now, I once again saw some CLG fans getting pissed that they're moving on from the squad and that, NRG should have been fighting tooth and nail to keep them. And I will just say this, I directly asked Andy Miller about this last week. They wanted to keep this squad together, but they're not going to break the bank to do so. And I think anybody that criticizes NRG for letting him go and not overspending, if you're really saying that after the years that we've been saying that we need to stop overspending for our players, you are part of the problem now. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Does it suck that we're losing him to the LEC? Sure. Is that NRG's fault? No. I inherently believe people when they tell me something, especially when I have no evidence to the contrary. If Andy says that they wanted to keep the roster together and that other people were just paying larger amounts that they simply couldn't afford or didn't want to and didn't want to, create the same problems that the NA ecosystem has had forever, then yeah, I believe him and I think it's a good thing. I don't know who NRG is going to pick up and support now. Support's one of those roles where it's just like, I don't know how many options we've got left. Maybe you import, maybe you don't. I do not know, but nevertheless, our LCS title defending team is still looking for one. The final main team to cover is my own, the one that I'm always most excited to talk about, and that is 100 Thieves. But you do need a little bit of context before we talk about this. Golden Guardians was in the running for a while to try and get JoJo and build out some sort of super team. They were apparently in the finals with both Cloud9 and FlyQuest to get JoJo, but they had to pull out of the JoJo sweepstakes due to their ownership yanking their budget for the year. This isn't the first time that's happened, but it's now rearing its head again. But apparently this time it looks to be worse. It wasn't just them pulling out of the sweepstakes, it was also some of their players that you would expect them to hold on to announcing that, hey, Golden Guardians has allowed me to explore more options, such as one of the top 3 junglers in the league in River. We don't know what this leaves for Golden Guardians. It feels like they are legitimately trying to sell their spot and are just biding their time until they can finally get a buyer to come in and take it off of them. Because after having a year where you have incredible results and you finally start building a brand to then get to this point where you're just throwing all of that momentum away. I get going budget and making sure that you are sustainable, but that is drastically different than slashing the budget entirely. So it looks like they might be looking to sell, which sucks for Golden Guardians fans that they built over the last year, but it's also great for 100 Thieves fans like myself because we picked up River, which means we now have a confirmed top jungle duo of River and Sniper, which is amazing. River is an incredibly aggressive jungler. His Jarvan is well renowned throughout the entire world. And while yes, Golden Guardians did fall off at the end of the year, he played well to the point where he was considered the best jungler in the league for an extended period of time before they kind of collapsed at the very end, which even then, that was more on Gory's fall off than anything else. So to have an aggressive jungler that can pair with Sniper for his development is amazing. Now, I do think this means that we probably keep Quid. I know a lot of people are going to be down on that and don't like it, but if there's anybody that you want to pair with Quid, given that his first split was with Closer, who had fallen off the face of the planet, I think this is the guy you want to do it because he speaks the same language natively that Quid does, can make him a little bit more comfortable and also help him through some of these situations. Quid showed great mechanical prowess in terms of CSing and lane. Yes, he got into some disadvantages, but again, he's a very young player that just needs time to develop. And I'm willing to personally give that one more split. As for bot lane, I'm still looking at Sven as like the main focal point that I would love to have him on this team. I think we have rookies already with both Sniper and Quid that I'm fine with going with veteran talent elsewhere to make sure that like we stabilize a little bit. If Sven's willing to take the pay cut that he probably obviously will, then that's great. Sven, I think, is also notably a resident or like getting his green card. I don't fully remember, but if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure Sven has his green card and is no longer an import. Yeah, it had to be because Cloud9 imported both Berserker and M&S who took up their spots, and Sven was resident. So I'd be fine with Sven being our resident ADC, and then we also need a resident support player to round that out because we have both of our imports in mid and jungle. As for what options are available, I don't know, but Meech is also on the table for bot lane if we truly did want to pull the trigger on that sweepstakes and go really young, but then we would 100% need a veteran support player. The one person, though, that we still haven't heard anything on other than his tweet earlier today is actually Spica, who is still free agent and in limbo from FlyQuest. And the question I will leave you on with Spica is this: what would you do? If the offer was like Golden Guardians on a minimum contract, would you go over to, say, the LEC secondary leagues and play over there for better competition? Would you stream? What would you do? for me personally, if my goal is to win worlds or like continuously push myself to be the best player that I can possibly be, I would go over to Europe. That's just me. Like, if you really don't think the options are good here in North America, but I still think you should be playing, I think you go over to Europe and take an offer in the LFL or something like that. Spica's got the resources now to be able to do so he could if he wanted to. It's just a question of where do his motivations lie? What's his goal here? What's happening? But him being a free agent and not being signed, assumedly at this point, it's by choice. He's not accepting a bottom offer because I guarantee he's gotten them. I don't know. We will see. But that's it for this week's Roster Mania recap. We'll be back next week to talk about any final things that wrap up. Hopefully we get more announcements on 100 Thieves and what our situation is going to be going forward. But yeah, I'm weirdly excited. Getting River is a massive move for us. And overall, the power level of the LCS feels solid. We'll touch on the LEC next week a little bit more as well because there's some big moves there. Thank you for watching. Be sure to drop a comment down below. What roster are you most excited for so far? And be sure to subscribe. Adios.